In the heart of London, where fog often draped the city like a shroud, two friends found themselves strolling along the dimly lit streets. One was Sherlock Holmes, a brilliant detective with a keen eye for details, and the other was Dr. John Watson, his loyal companion. As they walked, Watson noticed a curious sign hanging in the shadows. "Look there, Holmes," he said, pointing to the enigmatic sign. "What do you make of that?" Holmes peered through the mist, and a wry smile crept across his face. "Ah, Watson, that sign is not as innocent as it may seem," he replied cryptically. Watson squinted, trying to read the letters through the fog. "What does it say?" he asked. "It reads, 'The Veiled Lily, a house of enchanting delights.'" Holmes answered, his eyes flickering with intrigue. Watson raised an eyebrow, perplexed by the peculiar name. "Enchanting delights? What kind of place is that?" Holmes chuckled softly. "Oh, Watson, your innocence is charming. The Veiled Lily is no ordinary establishment. It likely conceals something far more discreet, possibly an illegal operation," he explained. Watson's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean a brothel?" he asked, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "Precisely," Holmes confirmed, giving Watson a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "But don't be alarmed. It is our duty to uncover the truth behind such mysteries." Curiosity now gnawed at Watson, and he couldn't help but ask, "How shall we proceed, Holmes? It's not as though they'd openly advertised their business." Holmes smiled, his eyes glinting with determination. "Fear not, my dear Watson. We shall rely on the whispers of the city and the secrets it holds." As the day transitioned into night, Holmes and Watson found themselves in a dimly lit tavern. They sat at a corner table, listening carefully to the hushed conversations of the patrons. The tavern was abuzz with tales and rumors. Amongst the voices, they heard a faint mention of the Veiled Lily. A couple of sailors at the bar were discussing the mysterious place. "I heard some strange things about that place," one sailor slurred, gulping down his drink. "Aye, me too," his companion chimed in, leaning closer. "They say the women there got some kind of special power." Intrigued, Holmes leaned in closer, pretending to be engrossed in his own drink. Holmes exchanged a knowing glance with Watson, and a plan began to form in his mind. Once they had gathered enough information, the duo decided to venture closer to the Veiled Lily under the cloak of night. As they stealthily approached the suspicious building, Holmes noticed a concealed entrance at the back. Silently, they slipped inside, treading softly through the labyrinthine passages. Soon they found themselves in a dimly lit room, adorned with veils of various colors. A woman with captivating eyes welcomed them, her gaze seeming to hold a strange power. "Good evening, gentlemen. Are you here to experience our enchanting delights?" she purred, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. Holmes feigned interest, engaging the woman in conversation, while Watson observed discreetly from the shadows. As the woman tried to entice them, Holmes felt a subtle pull in his mind, but resisted the enchantment. He knew they had to tread carefully. Unbeknownst to the veiled woman, Watson swiftly produced a vial of smelling salts from his pocket, discreetly waving it under his nose to keep his senses sharp. "We're here to uncover the truth," Holmes stated firmly, pulling back the veiled curtains to reveal the hidden presence of guards and secretive clientele. The element of surprise was on their side, and the truth behind the Veiled Lily was finally unveiled. And so, the first chapter of Sherlock Holmes' newest adventure concluded, leaving them on the precipice of a mystery that would take them deeper into the shadows than they had ever ventured before. The concealed entrance to the Veiled Lily had led Holmes and Watson into a maze of dark passageways. They moved silently, like shadows in the night, cautious not to alert anyone to their presence. The scent of incense filled the air as they approached a faintly lit door, where muffled voices could be heard from within. Holmes pressed his ear against the door, straining to catch snippets of conversation. It seemed they had stumbled upon a private room, and within, someone was detailing the night's activities. "The clients are enamored with the veiled ladies. The charm seems to have intensified since we received that new shipment," said a husky voice. "Yes, the veils have been imbued with a special powder. It enhances the mesmerizing effect on the patrons, making them more willing to part with their money," added another voice, slightly sinister in tone. Holmes and Watson exchanged glances, now aware of the illicit nature of this operation. It appeared that the veiled women possessed some sort of enchanting substance, explaining why clients left their inhibitions at the door. Taking a risk, Holmes carefully opened the door, just enough to peer inside. The room was dimly lit by candles, casting long shadows on the walls. At its center stood a woman with a veil, her captivating eyes captivating the attention of those around her. With a discreet gesture, Holmes signaled Watson to stay put and entered the room himself, pretending to be one of the clients. He approached the veiled woman, feigning fascination. "Good evening, madam. I've heard tales of your mesmerizing beauty, and had to see it for myself." The woman smiled seductively, her eyes seeming to pierce through his soul. "Welcome, sir. Allow me to show you the enchanting delights of the veiled lily." Holmes remained composed, masking the effect her gaze had on him. "What is the secret behind your charm? What power do your veils hold?" he inquired, subtly attempting to gather more information. The woman's smile grew wider, revealing a sense of pride in her craft. "Our veils are infused with a special blend of herbs and scents that captivate the senses. Those who gaze upon us find themselves under a spell, unable to resist our allure." Holmes nodded as though intrigued, but remained cautious. "Fascinating indeed. May I see one of these veils up close?" The woman hesitated for a moment, then motioned to a nearby table where various veils lay on display. As Holmes leaned over to examine them, he surreptitiously used his magnifying glass to inspect the fabrics more closely. It was evident that they were treated with some powdery substance. Meanwhile, Watson had discreetly slipped into the room, keeping a watchful eye on Holmes. He noticed a few guards lurking in the shadows, ready to intervene if anything seemed amiss. Watson's heart pounded in anticipation of what might unfold next. Holmes continued to engage the veiled woman in conversation, skillfully extracting more information about the brothel's operations. He discovered that the clients were lured not only by the veiled women, but also by the promise of secrets and forbidden pleasures. As the conversation continued, Holmes subtly dropped hints about his interest in exploring darker desires. The woman seemed intrigued, and just as she was about to divulge more, one of the guards intervened, growing suspicious of Holmes's probing questions. However, the distraction served its purpose. Watson had managed to discreetly swipe a small sample of the mysterious powder from one of the veils. With the evidence in hand, the two friends knew they had enough to bring down the veiled lily and expose its clandestine activities. Exiting the room as if satisfied with the encounter, Holmes and Watson retreated back into the shadows, leaving the brothel behind. Their minds were filled with the puzzle that lay before them, and they knew that the time for confrontation was drawing near. The second chapter of Sherlock Holmes's latest adventure had brought them closer to the truth, but the full extent of the brothel's secrets remained veiled. As they regrouped to plan their next move, they were aware that the deeper they ventured, the more perilous the journey would become.
Armed with the evidence they had collected, Holmes and Watson knew it was time to expose the clandestine activities of the Veiled Lily and put an end to its illegal operations. As the sun set on London, casting long shadows across the city, they made their way to the authorities to share their discoveries. Inspector Lestrade listened attentively as Holmes presented the case against the mysterious brothel. He examined the sample of the veiled powder, and his eyes widened with astonishment. "This is highly illegal and dangerous," he remarked, clearly recognizing the gravity of the situation. With a plan in place, Holmes and Watson led a small team of officers to raid the Veiled Lily that very night. The element of surprise was on their side, and they caught the guards and clients off guard. As they burst through the hidden entrance, the dimly lit rooms fell into chaos. The veiled women tried to use their mesmerizing charms on the officers, but this time they were prepared. Each officer wore a cloth soaked in vinegar to counteract the effects of the powder. The guards, realizing their secret was exposed, put up a desperate fight, but they were no match for the combined strength and determination of the law enforcement team. In a matter of minutes, the brothel was under their control, its illicit activities laid bare for all to see. As the clients were escorted away, dazed and bewildered, the veiled women were questioned by the authorities. The women admitted that they had been coerced into working at the Veiled Lily. Some had fallen victim to debt bondage, while others were brought in under false pretenses. In the midst of the chaos, Holmes noticed a particular woman in the corner, cowering in fear. She seemed different from the others, and his keen eye detected a glimmer of desperation in her eyes. Holmes approached her gently, offering reassurance. "What is your name, miss?" he asked with genuine concern. "Eliza, sir," she replied, her voice trembling. "Eliza, you don't have to be afraid. We are here to help," Holmes said kindly. "Tell us your story." Eliza hesitated but eventually confided in Holmes and Watson. She had been lured into working at the Veiled Lily under false promises of a better life. Her family was threatened, and she felt trapped in a web of deceit. Moved by her plight, Holmes promised to protect her and provide the necessary assistance to ensure her safety. With the help of the authorities, they arranged for Eliza's protection and the opportunity to start anew far away from the clutches of the brothel. As the night wore on, the illicit brothel was shut down and its operation dismantled. The rescued women were offered support and rehabilitation, while the guards and the brothel's mastermind were apprehended and brought to justice. The news of the raid spread across London like wildfire. Many were shocked to learn of the illegal activities hidden behind the enticing facade of the Veiled Lily. It served as a stark reminder that darkness often lurked where one least expected. In the following days, newspapers hailed the heroics of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson for their instrumental role in uncovering the truth. The duo had once again proved themselves as defenders of justice, champions of the downtrodden, and seekers of the truth. As they stood on the foggy streets of London, ready to continue their journey of solving mysteries and righting wrongs, Watson couldn't help but express his admiration for Holmes. "You truly are extraordinary, Holmes," he said, his eyes reflecting awe. Holmes smiled warmly at his friend. "And you, my dear Watson, are an indispensable companion on these journeys. Our combined efforts make all the difference." And so another thrilling adventure in the annals of Sherlock Holmes' escapades came to an end. As they disappeared into the misty night, their legacy as the greatest detective duo in history remained a beacon of hope for those in need of justice and truth.